and welcome once again to Relationships at Work, your leadership guide to building workplace connections and avoiding blind spots. I'm Russell Lolliker. I'm a communications and leadership expert with a couple of very successful decades in both those areas and a whole heap of curiosity on how we can make the workplace better. If you're a leader, and I know you are, trying to understand and improve your impact on work culture and the employee experience, you're in the right place. This in your ear right now is our weekly mini episode. These are just quick, valuable bits of information to help you in your mindset for the week ahead. They're always inspired by our Raw Note newsletter. If you haven't signed up for that yet, very much recommend you do. It's free. You click a couple of buttons and it shows up in your inbox, and it's a nice compliment to the show. Let's just say that. But it's quick and dirty, so I got to get into it right away. The topic today is, it's an important one, chasing horizons without understanding the road we're on. I've shared this story before. It's worth sharing again. I remember going to a presentation a couple of years ago. It was on leadership. And one of the panelists shared a story that was, it well illustrated the importance of understanding the cultures that we're in and not just making assumptions, which you know that I've talked about on the show a lot about assumptions. The panelists spoke of a previous Prime Minister of Australia who had a very specific vision for the future of their country and how it would be accomplished. Very straight arrow, this is what we're going to do. So to realize this vision, his administration hired doers, people that were there to ensure that the Prime Minister's vision became a reality. They weren't there to question, they weren't there to challenge, they were just purely there to be yes people and get the result that their boss wanted. That's what they were hired to do, no more, no less. Here's the thing, especially in government, every organization, nothing stays the same for very long, especially the people. Now, fast forward to when there was a change in government. So you can imagine the kind of culture and the processes that have been established in this organization, but now there's a change, and the next incoming prime minister was more of a collaborator. They knew the direction they wanted to take the country, but they were looking to others on how best to get there, the journey. He was very into innovation and new ways of thinking. He wanted creativity. He wanted bold ideas. But when he arrived, he was soon, as you can imagine, pretty frustrated to find that wasn't the kind of organization that he had actually inherited. It just wasn't built that way. These are yesers. These are doers. They're not creators. They're not innovators. That's just not what they did and not what their experience was. So the new prime minister soon was talking about the ineffectiveness of this government, this organization, and how he just couldn't get anything done. Which, to be fair, isn't fair to those that work there, and definitely showed a lack of compassion, adaptability, and dare I say leadership from this particularly new prime minister of Australia. Now, I tell this story because it highlights a challenge many of us as leaders face. We have this desire to achieve this new future, new ways of working. We see how it's done and we can do better, right? But we also need to face the reality of whether we actually work with leaders, team members, or in a workplace culture that can even achieve that kind of future. If this was a metaphor, and you know I do love them metaphors, it's basically chasing a horizon, chasing that goal without understanding the map, the means, or the road to get there. Does the path go in that direction? Are we with the right people to be successful on this journey? To build the workplace culture we want, we must first understand where we stand and what it takes to get there. I see so many leaders talk about the culture they're trying to build and no understanding that they already have a culture and they're contributing to it for good and for bad. And there's some work that needs to get done now before work in the future could even start. So how do we as leaders bridge this gap between what we want and what we have? We know leaders need to dream. That's part of being a leader, to think big and aspirational. We need to have goals to work towards to improve the ways we work and the health of our organizations. But there are needed steps that have to be taken to make it even achievable without just throwing our hands up like that prime minister and get frustrated and said, these people don't know how to work. So here are some first steps. Number one, first, you probably should conduct a pretty thorough cultural assessment. This is an important piece in understanding where we work. Surveys, feedback, cultural audits, gap analysis work. It's all vital in understanding where we're starting from and how far we might need to go to get where we want to go. Number 2, engage in some strategic leadership development. If we're going to achieve our vision, we need leaders with the skills to get us there. So take that info from your assessments and start training leadership in those necessary areas, then helping them model the behaviors that align with our vision. Don't forget to make sure all our leaders are aligned with each other as well. If they aren't, it can actually cause confusion and reduce trust in the path forward. We need to all be traveling together, and all leaders are different in how they learn and how they connect the dots, so we have to make sure they're all aligned in that movement forward. And last, implement some change management strategies. Now, with those leaders that get it, identify them and empower them to be change champions that not only have bought into the new vision, but also have the trust and connection needed with the staff. Here's no surprise. Get those communications plans, get them, create them to articulate the vision, explain the reasons for the change, and outlining the benefits. Communication, communication, communication. Transparency and consistency, also pretty key. Then just make sure you make all this change, this road forward. It's all implementing things incrementally. You don't want to go too fast. I know we want to move quickly, but moving too quickly can actually cause more problems, as it'll feel like we don't respect what we heard in the cultural assessment. Because people will be like, you're pushing me to this future without understanding my problems and challenges now. People don't necessarily love change, and we want to bring as many people with us as we can. As leaders, having a destination, it's essential. But team members need to feel like there's a plan forward that they can trust and believe in that respects the current situation, successes and challenges and workarounds. If we don't respect that current situation and what's needed to get to that destination we want, we'll find ourselves alone and wonder why no one joined us on our path. To truly look to the future, we have to face the reality of the present. That's it. We're done. A little mini episode of Relationships at Work, your leadership guide to building workplace connections and avoiding blind spots. My name is Russell Lolliker. If you have a moment, you enjoyed it, it shifted your brain, it reinforced some ideas you already had. That's always really valuable too. Go over to Spotify or YouTube or Apple. There's a rating and review option. You can leave some comments. It just helps the show grow a little bit. We're still growing. We're still getting exposure. We're moving along, and we need your help to do that. So if you have some time, couldn't appreciate you more. All right, take care of yourself. Bye.